All right, Vika, I am super excited to have you here with me today and just sharing a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey for the last, I was actually looking up when we started working together. I think it was like almost um, October of 23,
hmm That sounds
right?
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
so about a year and what is that? Some months, a year and a half?
Yeah, a year and a half ago. That sounds
Yeah.
about right.
Yeah. So I'm interviewing some people who've been in business for, I'd say, at least a year. So
hmm
they can just share a little bit about their journey and their experiences and all the super fun and amazing lessons that you learn along the way.
hmm
Um, so to start, would you just tell us a little bit about your business and what it is that you do?
Yeah. So I stepped into the role of your Perry godmother um, this summer because I was working with midlife women's health and wellness already. And there are so many things that I wanted to concentrate on, their weight, their cognitive and mental health. And things were sort of colliding all around this time period of perimenopause. And I realized this is why I'm having a hard time focusing on like a symptom because
Yeah.
all of these things come crashing down in perimenopause. And so I decided this is what I want to work with perimenopause and the menopausal transition and to help coach women around, you know, getting through this time period educated and with support and sort of like creating community around that.
Awesome.
So,
It's a
mhm.
spot where support is very much needed. Like there's very little. I mean, there's starting to become more awareness around like perimenopause and menopause, but there's not much. So
Yes.
uh, yeah, it's a big area where support is needed. And you have some very amazing branding that you've done with the which I will share your links so people can check it
Yep.
out. But I think it's been great. So
Yeah, I mean, I woke up, it was around the time where I was focusing on my niche and I realized I wanted to work with perimenopause. And I woke up, I must have had a dream, and I woke up with this name, Your Perry Godmother. I'm
mm,
your Perry Godmother. And then I thought, I went to the coffee shop, I started writing about it. I immediately checked the domain, it was available.
mm,
Um, and then a few days later, I walked into a Goodwill store in Berkeley and said, I'm going to find my Perry Godmother dress in this store. And it was the second store I went to. And I looked, and there was this pink and purple shiny thing hanging with like all these prom dresses.
oh
And
no.
I had no idea what size it was, but I just had this like intuitive, there she is. That's the dress. And I
Yeah.
bought it with this like thing. It was just very, I don't know, it's like the path was unfolding in front of me. And had a friend take some pictures. I had the hair, obviously. Um, but stepping into the role and having a little bit of lightness and humor around it helped me get through some of the challenges and the scary parts of it because I could talk about it with a smile. I got people's attention. That was part of this whole challenge is getting people to think about perimenopause as an important issue, and not try to just soldier through all of the symptoms. So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I know you're kind of mentioning already like challenges as far as like maybe stepping into that role. But one of the other things I asked about, like just starting a business can be challenging. Building
mhm.
a business can be challenging. What did you feel like or kind of like the big challenges or lessons that you learned along the way?
Well, a lot of it had to do with confronting aspects of myself that I had to confront anyway. It's like when you start a business, all these things come along with you, all of the limitations. And so for me personally, I realized, as I was saying earlier, I'm a late diagnosis ADHD. So I was already having issues with executive function and avoiding tasks that were boring or that were scary. Rejection sensitivity around, if I put myself out there and people aren't interested, what does that mean? And
Ugh.
that could be devastating. And so all of these things that were already there anyway, but starting a business is like an accelerator to put all of that up in my face. And you got to deal with this. It's there anyway.
Yeah.
Um, So, and then going back to work after I have two teenage boys, 16 and 13, and I haven't really, I worked for a school for 4 years, so I had an employer, but I hadn't really um, been in charge of my own business for like 16 years, really. So going back out there, things have changed a bit. Like when I had a full time, I had a decade long successful massage and yoga practice
Awesome.
where I did like Thai yoga therapy for clients, and I taught workshops and retreats, and I had that all going. But I would just hang a flyer in the yoga studio, and then word of mouth, and I had this whole business. There was not the social media marketing, didn't feel so flooded, and so going back out as a nutritionist and health coach into this world of like social media marketing and in a very, very flooded market after being in mom mode for the last 16 years, it's been challenging. I'm distracted because I have to think about my kids and my dog and my household in a way that I wasn't when I first was launching my own business. And so, and I'm more tired, and I'm perimenopausal myself, so all of the challenges that I help my clients with I
Yeah.
have to deal with too.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, it can definitely be a big challenge. Is there anything that you found most helpful? And I know it's always a work in progress as far as helping you kind of get through some of those things to take some action in your business and get out there and do the things.
Well, I think your advice, just intuitively after listening to me for a few months and saying, Vika, you just need to do the in-person thing. You need to be face to face. You just need to be in action and getting out there and concentrating on connections and building your community. That's your path. And has that's exactly the path that I took, and that's exactly what made it work. Um, Also, your advice to like sometimes you just don't feel like doing it. You can't wait until you feel like doing something. You just have to schedule it in bite-sized chunks. Like you were giving all of this advice that's really good for people with executive function deficits without necessarily even knowing that I was dealing with that. But absolutely, like looking at the calendar, putting things in there, putting in pieces. I think that was really helpful, and I'm still using that. I could use it a lot more, but yeah, that's been really helpful.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's tricky because when you're working for someone else, like you do have a very set schedule and someone's like, you have to be here at this time and this has to be done by this date and whatever. And
Right,
when you're setting it for yourself, you get to decide everything.
right,
And at the same time, if doing those things feels scary or uncomfortable,
right.
you're having to force yourself to do something and setting a date when it's like something that's like I want to do this, but at the same time, like, I really don't want to do this because it feels scary.
Yeah, and another thing we didn't talk about, we had a long pre-discussion about ADHD and how much that has come in to be a challenge for me. But there's also something called hyperfocus that people with ADHD do. And so a great distraction technique from the thing I should be doing would be I would go down a rabbit hole and
Mhm.
hyper focus and do a deep dive into something else that
Yep.
seemed like I was being productive, but it really didn't have to be done in that moment.
Yeah.
And then I would end up delaying the thing that I should have been doing until it was so at until I had a fire like hot deadline for myself under my butt to make myself do it. And then I would take action. It's that like deadline, I would make a deadline because it was urgent instead of a deadline that would give me enough time to do that with ease.
Yeah.
That's still a challenge for me, but yeah, that's a major
I'm sure
insight.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate, including
Yep.
myself. So,
Yep.
anyone who's a procrastinator, like, you kind of know that, like, yeah, put it off until it has to be done. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I have to do it right now. And you get like the push to do it, right? But it's not necessarily from a spot that feels really good. It's from a spot that can feel kind of like you said, like, oh, I have to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. And even just by like the time chunks, like just give yourself this amount of time to do this amount of thing and set an alarm. Something as simple as that is actually hyper focus prevention. It's like rabbit hole prevention
Yeah, yeah.
because then it's like you get through that task paralysis, starting paralysis of like just start. It's just this little bit. That's all I have to do today is just start this little thing and then I have to end it at this time. I have to get up from my chair and have a glass of water to prevent myself from overdoing it and getting obsessive about it. And then I start to lose focus and I'm not as sharp anyway. And
Yeah. 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 Yeah, definitely. That can be a very, very helpful tool.
yeah,
Um, I know you were mentioning marketing a little bit and doing some in-person marketing, but I was going to ask you about marketing, what you've been doing, yeah, tell us a little bit about like what you've been doing, what you found most helpful.
yeah.
Um, yeah, we
So as I was ending your program, my main business was Vika Health, and it was like a general health and wellness coaching program for women, for midlife women, and that's where I left it. And I toward the end stepped into this idea of Godmother, and everyone on the call, like all your faces lit up and you were nodding and you were just like, I love it for you. So I kept getting that from people. That was the feedback. You're Godmother, I got to say, and I just kept getting this feedback. I love it. It's perfect. And I realized this is where the energy is. This purple and pink shiny dress and wand and whatever, this is where the energy is. So
right.
I'm just going to dive into this one role um, and see where it takes me. And I followed your advice, just create some circles with women, just like a women's group.
Yeah.
And so my husband and two boys were going out of town for a week, and I decided to have a mama's taco night at my house last summer.
It's
And I made all this food and I invited all these women who didn't even necessarily know each other, but I liked them. Whoever I thought was interesting, I really liked them, even if I didn't know them that well, but I liked their energy. I invited them.
awesome.
And then in that evening, like event, I went into my room, I put on the dress and the wand and the crown, and I came out and I said, this is what I want to do. I want to become your Godmother. And just like everybody, like the faces, and this is, so one of my friends had invited one of her friends to that without telling me. She just brought her along. And
Okay.
that person reached out to me and said, hey, I know this doctor who teaches about menopausal health. You should let me connect you with her. You can talk. So she and I had a meeting, and I just decided in that call, I want to have these workshops. Like I used to have this online nutrition workshop for 5 weeks. I can do this in person, but I want to have you come in and teach one of the classes she was a menopause specialist. She was actually trained through the
Amazing.
Menopause Society. That's like a rare needle in a haystack to find a doctor who's actually properly trained. So she agreed to teach one of the classes. So it was like right there and then I could see the whole thing. I'm going to do this in person. I already know how to do 5 week workshops. I'll make it a 6 week workshop and I will include her. And I went to an acupuncture clinic um, for some gathering a few months earlier, and I liked the space. I liked the vibe of the space, and I knew the owner. So I
Okay.
called her and asked if she would rent it to me. It was like one of those boom, boom, boom. And then I
Yeah.
just made a flyer, started to talk about it with all my friends, with that group. Oh, I started a book club at that same Mama's Taco Night.
I
It
love
was a
that.
Mama's book club based all around the book. Um, uh, I forgot the name of the book, but it'll come back to me. It was Miranda July's book.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's really good about perimenopause.
Okay.
Anyway, um, okay, so having one of those like brain fog moments.
I know what you're trying to think
And
about.
I,
We can share it because I'll get all your links and stuff and we can share the book name too. So don't worry.
yeah, so it was a great book to start a book club with because it was really
Yeah.
funny and it touched on perimenopause. So it was all that energy at the end of the summer, and I started doing these in-person workshops, and it was amazing. People loved being in the room together. It was exactly the number of people I wanted. I wanted like a coven of 13. So it was 12 women
Perfect.
registered. I maxed out the space so we couldn't fit any more than 12. Claudia Levine, the menopause doctor, was incredible. It was just really successful. So I decided if I fill this, I'm going to do it again. And I
Okay.
filled it and I did it again right away, which was probably not the smartest thing because I didn't give myself any breathing room. But I filled it
Yeah.
again after a lot of panic.
Amazing.
And yeah, and then I decided to do it one more time in a bigger space. I collaborated with an herbal center, the Berkeley Herbal Center, and they could fit much more. So I imagine 18 women could fit in this space. But we ended up filling it with 12 again. And I
Awesome.
had a herbalist come and teach one of the classes. So it's been great. Um, and I guess one more thing that I launched outside of that is a private coaching group for the graduates of that program. So
Okay.
I ran 3 programs and then I offered a private coaching, like a 10-week group for anyone who wanted to fine tune some of the skills and content that I taught them. And that was also amazing. But now I'm in a break to see how I can turn this over to an online program and reach more people.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think there's so much power in kind of like following the crumbs and letting like that magic happen versus having this idea of what our marketing and our business should look like and how everything has to happen. And it's like the difference of the energy of like being pulled towards something versus
Yeah.
like pushing or trying to force it. And I can just tell when you're talking about it, it just feels like you're just like flowing through, like flowing
Yes.
through the river.
Yes, it's definitely my happy place. And I
Yeah.
think we need connection. We need, and you talked about this especially a lot toward the end. You were discovering this on in your own life. We need in-body connection.
Yep.
Like we need food and water. And I think connecting around a topic that we're all struggling with can be really powerful. And so building this community around perimenopause and the menopausal transition. And half the people were actually in menopause already, but they still felt like they needed support. And so I started to create I called it like, you know, thriving through peri with a slash menopause and beyond to try to include also women who are early in menopause are welcome into this group too. And it's been really nice to have people on the other side, reflecting and getting the support that they didn't get that they needed.
Yeah, totally. I love all of that. Excited for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Wish I was there because I would have liked to
I,
come to.
you can participate on the in the online version when that's up
Yeah.
and running.
Yeah, that's a nice thing. Like there's something really magical about like being in person with people. Like for sure, like
Yeah.
it can't be replaced in any other way. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously Zoom and video is great. But there is something to that I think like you can feel people's energy in a different way and like kind of that community. But the nice thing about doing stuff online is obviously you can be reaching people from all different areas and getting together, which can be very cool as well. So
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. What was the thing I was going to ask you? Oh, so I know we talked like a little bit about this, but if you kind of like reflect back, um,
Hmm.
is there any like ways that kind of stand out to you that you feel like you've kind of like changed or transformed through the process that you've had to go through of working on building your business up to this point?
Absolutely. I think my confidence, that's the main thing, is I feel much more confident in myself and my gifts, and I feel more proud of what I have to offer. I feel more in touch with my sense of purpose
Mhm.
and the energy that comes with that. Like I have a new sense of like, I got to get up in the morning and I got to do this, that, and the other thing outside of my role of being a mother.
Yeah.
And I think that was really, really important to me, much more important than I had realized. I probably could have done this a lot sooner, although I didn't feel like I had the energy to, but I don't think I realized how much energy would come from this.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
And it definitely required me to take care of myself, like physically. So I had to make sure that I was going to bed earlier, that I was eating well, that I was doing all the things that I teach so that I could bring it. And because when I let that fall away, and I do, and I'm, you know, human, and I do, I still have to actively remind myself to not binge watch Netflix too late at night. but yeah, I have to be doing the things that I'm teaching so that
Yeah.
I can have the energy to do it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the like the nice thing about coaching or doing something in health and wellness and stuff too is like there is some pull or kind of like responsibility to walk your talk, which can be good because walking our talk helps us.
Yeah.
But it also obviously helps our clients because we're being an example. And I think the key there is it's not about being perfect, obviously, because nobody is, but putting in the effort and being aware of like what you're doing and how that's impacting you and how you feel and how you show up. So
And then the last thing I'd say on that question is
yeah.
I when I got diagnosed with ADHD in this past fall, part of it is because I could tell that I was having major executive functioning issues around work. Like I was just not productive in the way that I wanted to be. And I kept getting distracted and spending too much time on certain things that I didn't need to be spending time on and having trouble planning. And, especially with the marketing cycle of an in-person workshop, there's a certain amount of planning way ahead of time that you want to be doing. And I was having so much trouble with that and then completely stressing out at this last minute trying to get people into the workshop. And so I ended up getting the diagnosis. And now I realize this is something that I'm understanding about myself that I've had my whole life, but it's because of the business that made me actually understand myself and have much more compassion for myself. So
Yeah, I mean, it's super powerful because most of us are so hard on ourselves. And why
yes.
can't I just do the things? Why can't I
What's
just,
wrong with me?
oh, yeah, what's wrong with me? Like, why is this person not have a problem with doing it, but I do, and it feels so
Yeah.
hard? Or, yeah, I think that's very, very powerful.
Now
Um,
it's like, oh, what's right with me? I have ADHD. I have amazing ideas. I'm like an idea generator. And, if I have a friend who helps me take some of my ideas and actually make them reality. And so she and I work really well together. So I'll come up with an idea. Like during the election, I was turned to her in the middle of our election party and said, we need to have game night, once a month game night. And she made that happen.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah, she knows how, like, she takes my ideas seriously, and then she's a logistics person. She's really good at like actually making something happen. So
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Are you, out of curiosity, are you always doing the same game or different games?
nope, different game every time. So she's been the house host, and then we have a game host.
Okay.
So this Friday I'm the game host. We had other people do the game host the first few months,
Okay.
and I'm bringing the game Rabble.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
It's a mix of like charades and
Oh, I love
um,
that.
it's so fun. I played it once before, so we'll see how it goes.
Fun. I love that. I need
Yeah.
to game night. We were for a while like getting together with some neighbors and doing that, and then we just kind of got out of the habit, but it's super fun. Yeah, I love that idea. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so one other question. I know you kind of talked about like how building your business has changed like your life and you've made some changes, but is there anything else like that we didn't touch on, or have you noticed that like the changes have rippled out to anyone around you and your family or anyone else as far as that goes? Out of curiosity.
I think a lot of people in my immediate circle are benefiting
Mm,
from me coming out of my shell and talking about my work. And I end up helping a lot of people, like, helping them understand how to talk to their doctors.
yeah.
Um, and I think my kids are seeing me model a new version of, a woman and a mother, seeing me go through having something that's important to me. And I don't know how that will affect them later on in life, but I imagine they'll have a different understanding of what it means to be, a woman in midlife and to go through the challenges of like starting a business again, going back to work. Um, my husband's been really supportive. I'm lucky that, I've had some time to like make money
Yeah, yeah.
because he's been supporting us. But he's just, yeah, everything that I'm doing, he thinks is great and has
Awesome.
allowed me the time and space to do it. And I think now that my kids are teenagers and more independent, I do have the time and space and energy to do this. It would have been probably harder if I did it when they were younger. Not
Yeah.
impossible, but challenging for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love all that because I do find like when we grow, like personally, I do think it ripples out to anyone we're like connected to in some way. Sometimes it's small
Yeah.
ways, sometimes it's big ways, but um yeah,
I
the
do think that I have flyers all over Berkeley. And so even if people don't take my workshop, I have perimenopause. Like I've printed 500 flyers and they're all over the place. Like perimenopause is in the atmosphere more because of me. And I think that's a good thing.
I
I
think
think
so
that'll
too.
be good, yeah, for women to understand their mental health and changes that are happening and to, get the help that they really need, even if it has nothing to do with contacting me. I think I'm putting something good out there in the world. So
Totally. And just like giving people permission to like talk about it, right? Like it doesn't have to be some hush hush thing where it's like, I have to pretend it's not happening. Like,
absolutely. It's destigmatizing the subject and actually like flipping the whole narrative. This is actually a really exciting time. Once we can understand how to take care of ourselves, this is a time where we can sort of regroup and think about what we really need, think about who we really are, create the boundaries that we maybe weren't able to establish earlier because we need that. And
uh,
we talk about this a lot in my workshops that you don't have as much oxytocin and you don't take as much crap from people. And so you have to start establishing your boundaries and standing up for who you are and following your passions. Apparently, more women in menopause start businesses than any other group.
oh,
And
interesting.
I thought that was really interesting.
That's
Yeah.
very cool. I love that.
Yeah, we're kind of done working for someone else and we're ready to follow
Yeah.
our own vision. And
Yeah.
so I try to get people to realize like this is a really special time. This is a time to really listen to ourselves and take care of ourselves and prepare ourselves to like, half of our life will be in menopause, our second act, where
Yeah.
we won't be under the pressures of, the reproductive hormones of having to, you know, look a certain way for, a mate or whatever. And just we're necessary. We're more necessary now in this world that we have that's run by aggressive males. We need strong archetypes of the matriarch like we've never needed it before.
Totally. Yeah. I love that. I love that. It's a very important change of narrative. And um, yeah, I think the wisdom that we have as we age and grow and like all the things is so valuable. So
Yeah,
we can show up way more powerful in our second part of life than in our first part of life. So let's put
absolutely.
it put it in action. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, awesome. Thank you for sharing all that. Is there any last things we didn't touch on, like as far as if someone is thinking about starting a business or they're just getting started and they're struggling, like any words of wisdom that you would want to share with anyone?
Yeah, I think it's really helpful to take the time to do the soul searching, to really like search as deeply as you can to find out what you're really excited about, what really is going to get you going, that you believe was not there for you, that you needed.
Mm.
It's a great way to start because you'll need that energy to get through all of the challenges. You've said this over and over again, but I found this for myself when when I'm tired and I don't want to do something and I remember like, wait a minute, this isn't just for me. And I think about the people that I could be helping. And then I just feel this like I have a responsibility. I have the training, I have the knowledge. People need my help. And I'm just going to take the risk and go for it. And I think that's the thing. You have to know what you're willing to take the risk for.
Mhm.
And your why has to be really strong and solid. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. And the second thing is, for me, I think it's been really helpful to understand my limitations, to just understand that there are certain things that are going to be hard, that I'm going to resist, and to understand that and not let that control me. It's like, okay, I have to do this amount of admin, or I have to do this task, or I have to learn this platform. This is just something that's next. And I know that part of me will avoid that and will distract, will have me do all the other things.
Yeah.
But I will do it anyway. And so understanding my limitations, that's why my particular diagnosis, ADHD, has been so helpful because now I have all of these like terms and, things that I can predict that I might do to myself and I can sort of nip it in the bud.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean, I think it's huge because a lot of times there's like a certain picture painted as far as the entrepreneurial journey. I think especially in coaching, it can be very like it's this easy straight line going like this, and it happens really fast, and it should happen really fast, and it's just not. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of coaches. Like it's just not the reality of how it works for pretty much anyone. Maybe
right.
1%, maybe 0.1% of people. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I think it's good to always share that.
I mean, one last thing I'll say, I
Yeah.
think this is the last thing I'll say, is I think when we're aligned, when the timing is right and we can clear some of the energetic blocks,
Yeah.
things just happen. Like the client will call or the space will appear. I've noticed that over and over again. When
Mhm.
I'm aligned with my purpose and I can clear a certain block, then it'll just unfold. And it's a mystery. I can't explain it. I can't explain what's happening, but it seems like there's some kind of energetic factor there. And I just trust that, when it's time to take a break, if it's time to take a break, when it's time to redesign and regroup, and just to trust that, that these are all phases. And
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, very, very good reminder. Awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that.
yeah,
Would you tell us a little bit about, or tell us where we can find you? Like, where's the best places for people to find about you? Anywhere you want to share as far as where people can see what you're up to? See your
yes.
awesome pictures of
Your Perry
your
Godmother. And
Perry
it's
God.
spelled, yeah, it's
Yeah.
spelled Peri, like the prefix of perimenopause.
Yep.
YourPerryGodmother.com and Instagram, Your Perry Godmother.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. I'll share the
Yeah.
links too, so people can just click on them, but that's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank
Yeah, thank
you.
you so much for sharing all that. Like,
Yeah.
super valuable for people who are wanting to see what the journey looks like.
Yes, I'm glad that I can be of help. And it's been a pleasure talking to you always.
Yeah, you
So
too,
I'm
Vika.
happy to do it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.